welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. The force of others compels us to dig into the Star Wars number 5. Normally, I don't talk about the covers when I'm reading from a trade. As a reminder, I do that because a comic's cover is usually meant to entice a reader to pick up the individual issue by being a miniature preview of the contents, whether it be abstract artwork or a scene depicted in the story. Or just a guy standing in a void looking menacing, but that's neither here nor there. Trades have their own covers, sometimes taken from an individual issue, and furthermore, the contents of trades may have been altered from the individual issue in one way or another. And since the cover of a trade doesn't necessarily have as large an impact on buying a book like it does for individual issues, I decide not to review that individual issue's cover if I'm reviewing it from a trade. However, this episode is running a bit short, so might as well, especially since this cover is friggin' gorgeous, done by artist Nick Runge. All the individual The Star Wars issues are done in a style reminiscent of Drew Struzan's artwork for Star Wars posters. This one in particular is awesome, from the gradual darkening of the light from top to bottom, a romantic scene on top, the bottom with a dynamic fight scene against stormtroopers, while also reminding us that yes, this is in space, thanks to these flying arrowheads zipping across the page at an angle. Just great stuff. We open at Gordon's spaceport on Aqualay, where the red zone is for loading and unloading only. Unless you're an alien who doesn't see that color, in which case it's the white zone. Swamp Solo is worried. They're changing the boarding procedures. I don't like it. Oh, come on. Unlike the rest of us, you're not even wearing any shoes to take off. Luke hands over his info to a guard, our identification officer. I don't need to see your identification. You don't? But what about my droids? Those aren't the droids we're looking for. Should we just move along? Move along. Move along. You're not going anywhere! Where are your component receipts? Man, the IRS is getting really annoying with tracking expense deductions. However, Luke is already on hand with that receipt, which comes in the form of a floppy disk, it would seem. Or possibly a technical machine from Pokemon. Anyway, they get through security. Anakin, though, is a bit worried. I don't like the feel of this. You're carrying around an unconscious child in a metal container strapped to your back, Annie. How the hell would any of this feel good? Also, I'm just curious if that was the early version of, I've got a bad feeling about this. Anyway, Anakin thinks he senses a Knight of the Sith, though Luke is uncertain. However, as they approach their ship, there seem to be less and less people around, confirming for them that something is off. Luke and Han go ahead to check things out, discovering Prince Valorum in the captain's chair. Welcome, gentlemen. You must have had a difficult journey. Have a seat. Game of Thrones is about to start. Stormtroopers come out to attack them, but the bridge is soon sealed off. Han tries to attack Valorum with his lightsaber, but Valorum just telekinetically pulls the saber from his hand. General, please explain to your soldier that the rest of your party is at my mercy. I will decide the color of the decorations. There will be no cheap booze at this party. Only wine coolers. Hey, check it out. They forgot to key out the green screen in the background. Anyway, the two are put in shackles and led away with instructions to not put them in the same cell as the others. Fortunately, for some reason, R2 and 3PO are still free and are ready to assist in their escape. And by that, I mean they just walk behind them as Luke and Han leap up into the air and somehow free themselves from their restraints. I don't know, it seems to imply that they break free by just shoving the manacles into the overhead lights, which either have so much juice flowing through them that they can easily be overloaded like this, or the ceilings have some kind of electric fence on them. And yeah, either way, the implication is that they overload the electronics of the manacles, which suggests that the modern-day tech of regular handcuffs is superior to these.
Just because it's futuristic doesn't mean it's practical.
But yeah, they of course escape and soon break the others free of their own cell. Well, now here's a chance for the droids to be useful. R2 can hack into the systems and disable them. Or Luke can throw a stormtrooper into the bars, which somehow turns them off. Did the Empire just buy all their tech from Radio Shack clearance sales? The storage units containing the kids were taken away, although they don't think the Empire knows about the kids inside of them. As such, Anakin and Whitson head out to rescue them, while the others head to an escape hatch to secure that. We finally get the droids to do something useful, 3PO being the one to open the hatch for them. Congratulations, guys! You've justified being in the plot for a few more pages! Anakin and Whitson find the storage pods, but are cornered by some stormtroopers. Anakin might have a way for them to get out. I picked up a neurostunner back there, but I'm not sure if it's ethical to— Use it! Use it now! But I don't want the name Anakin to ever be associated with something rash and unethical. Also, by their own admission, it's a stun device. What's unethical about that? But yeah, he tosses it and it disables the stormtroopers. Training is over, Anakin. The Empire cares nothing for Jedi Bendu ways. And yes, that means that we have to stun them. Damn our souls to hell for that! Unfortunately, it seems 3PO couldn't get the door open very much since Han Solo has to hold it up. They need to escape quickly since the Empire plans to gas the ship, but fortunately everyone manages to get through, Han finally letting the door go, and crushing a stormtrooper in the process. Ooh, jeez, check out the crunch sound effect. Bet it sounded like a metric ton of celery put in a hydraulic press. I don't think a Wilhelm scream would quite do that justice. The group head towards the nearest part of the spaceport, the military section, and quickly locate a ship they can use to escape, which you might recognize as the Tantive 4 rebel ship from the beginning of A New Hope. Yeah, in case you didn't know, originally this ship was gonna be the Millennium Falcon. During pre-production, however, the TV show Space 1999 came out with a prominent ship featuring a similar design, so they decided to build the Falcon we're all familiar with. Our heroes settle in, since they should be fast enough to get away from any Empire ships in pursuit. Everyone should get some rest. Have 3PO take the controls. Oh good, the robot that couldn't even get a door to open properly is gonna be flying the ship. I eagerly await him turning the ship around and landing back in the same spot entirely by accident. Anakin suggests they put the kids into an escape pod for their safety. Couldn't we let my brothers out now? It's better this way. Trust me, Princess, little kids and Star Wars rarely make a good combination. Leia asks Anakin to stay with her for a moment. I wanted to thank you. I think I love you. Aw, isn't that sweet? It was love at first punch. No, seriously, what the hell? Like, aside from the fact that these two have known each other for like maybe 2 days tops, she has been nothing but angry and pissed off at him every step along the way, and he hasn't exactly reciprocated. Hell, look at his expression as she's saying she friggin' loves him. Even he is utterly confused by what she's saying. And again, the first time they met, he punched her just for the sake of expediency. Is this one of those stupid things they say to little kids, that expressions of asshole behavior by little boys is just their way of saying they like them? Is that why Leia has those pigtails? Also, screw the idea of violence among little kids as a sign of affection. That is dumb. Hell, Anakin agrees with me. What is this silly talk of love? Stop acting like a child and start behaving like a queen. Well, in the Star Wars tradition of Leia's family, that means putting on clown makeup and silly headdresses. Although, given a previous issue, she's got the headdress thing down already. You belong to the people of Aqualay! They have the receipt! Oh, I hate you! The sooner we're on Ofuchi, the better! Just as well, Leia. Given previous issues of this comic, he'd probably just cheat on you with a redhead. 3PO detects some hostile fighters on an intercept course, and Luke hopes they can lose them in the nearby Yavin star system. Later, Whitson goes to talk to Luke in his quarters and asks what his deal is with the princess. We're in love. She loves me, and I just realized I love her. I am face-palming with the Infinity Gauntlet, Anakin. That is where we are now. Whitson points out that they're asking for trouble just because of their respective positions. I say they're asking for trouble because they're assholes to each other and they haven't been on a single date. For crying out loud, 50s romance comics have longer courtship time than this. And those comics usually have people proposing on the first date. Anyway, the Empire's attack is underway, forcing Anakin and Whitson to man the ship's guns. I count 3 hunter destroyers, but they may be hiding their numbers. My god! It's Sand People! They always fly hunter destroyers single file to hide their numbers! Turn the ship around. Let's face them. And then turn the ship back around again to face them because they're actually in fighters and will be flying in circles all around us. Anakin readies his gun port. The AT-AT cannon is full power. They're gonna shoot the Martians from Mars attacks at the Empire? Also, nice grammar. The cannon is full power. Luke orders them to hold for a signal before firing, maneuvering the ship for the best position. And indeed, we see that these are a different form of TIE fighters. Not too different, although their wings seem to be partially transparent. And so our comic ends with Anakin demanding the right to fire since the ship is getting blasted to bits. And yeah, that's the end of this issue. Just out of nowhere in the middle of a fight. You know, this comic had the first encounter of our heroes with a main villain, an action-packed escape from their captors, cool spaceships flying around, the beginnings of romance, and some more space combat. Yet it feels like it barely got started. For that reason, and many others, this comic kinda sucks. As always, the artwork is the best part, not just for how realistic everyone is drawn, but the artist definitely has a sense of good cinematography in how shots are framed, really showing off some exciting stuff. The image of Tantive 4 busting out of the spaceport in particular comes to mind, and the characters feel properly dynamic when they need to be. The problem, of course, is all in the writing. Like I stated, it barely feels like anything happened, despite the fact that a lot happened. Now, some will probably say, well, yeah, this is the first draft of Star Wars, and they obviously cut and revised stuff in the finished product for very good reasons. The problem, of course, is that transposing that same script in comic form doesn't fix those issues, it just trades out one medium for another and kinda makes it worse. Reading ahead a bit, there's a better moment where we could have a cliffhanger ending for this issue, but because of the arbitrary need to include pretty much everything from this script, we have this kinda sorta non-cliffhanger ending the story. Anakin and Leia just falling in love out of nowhere is ridiculous. Say what you will about what happened between Anakin and Padme in Attack of the Clones, at least the sand discussion is something before they declare they love each other. And of course, there are way too many characters. They at least put the little kids inside of cans so they're not just running around during the space battles, but aside from some additional muscle and visual appeal, Han Solo doesn't really add anything. The droids seem practically useless, or at least R2 is, since it's 3PO who does the technical stuff in this version. And Whitson is a glorified extra. Regardless, it is still fun to see how different and yet similar so much of this is, and where things got switched around and used differently. And for those of you upset that this episode was so short, don't worry. I just like to have some short ones after really big ones like Event Comics Month. Or with next time, as we're back with Patreon-sponsored reviews with a look at a few issues of all-new Ghost Rider. Look, Alan, it's not like I'm going to stay in there. I just need access for a quick scan. Because Comicron 1 is lying in a crater on the moon, and the Vigilant is just a scout ship. It can't scan the whole planet. Look, if Vice is really going to become some new version of the entity, this affects your bosses too. I don't know, maybe I can give them some limited force field technology or something? What do you mean they wouldn't know what a force field is? Look, just talk to your bosses for me, okay? Thanks. Bye. Ah!
So I guess I can film now?
Bunch of idiots! I'm trying to save the planet here with the equivalent of a pack of gum and 2 unsharpened pencils!
It's the government. What do you expect? Why, I could tell you stories about how every American government in any form has had some kind of weird legend around it. Why, did you know the Articles of Confederation have not 1, but 3 curses on it?
Vice is gonna become the new entity, probably in some harebrained scheme to kill it because he doesn't believe it's dead, and devour all of reality in the process!
I think you're overselling things a bit. You said Vice hasn't done anything major in years now. He only appeared to take 90s Kid and leave. And considering that he needs 90s Kid, I don't think he's in any position to become a god.
Vice has always been more cunning than we give him credit for. If I'm right and he becomes the next entity, he'll probably see destroying universes as some twisted way of saving them.
Oh, a villain who wants to kill and destroy everything. You certainly have a shortage of those. Even the entity was like that.
No, the entity was different.
But how? No, really. Ever since you've heard of the possibility of the entity returning, you've been going crazy about it. You beat him! You've beaten Vice multiple times. This should be old hat to you by now. I've read about the Technomina. Hell, I even recorded an episode on one of them from this very futon. What makes them scarier than anything else? Why is this so important to you?
The major theme of Lovecraftian horror is hopelessness, insignificance, how tiny and unimportant we are in the grand scheme of things, and how, inevitably, we will be destroyed or consumed or turned into mindless slaves by beings that we can't even begin to comprehend. I believe in hope. I believe there's always a solution, always a way to beat the bad guys. But these outer gods, these things, exist to tell us that no, there is no way to beat things in the end, and I cannot abide that! All the people we love, all the things we do in life, everything that makes life worth living, it's significant, god damn it! We are all important! Everything we do is so goddamn important! I beat the entity by tricking it. By convincing it that life was meaningless, and I sure as hell don't believe that! But if the entity is still alive, or if someone like Vice becomes it, then we're doomed. Because there's nothing else that we can do. And the same despair that killed it will kill us. And I will not let that happen. If the entity is alive, or if Vice becomes it, then I am gonna be the one to shove a sword through its face, just so I can get up close enough to scream in their ear that we are important! Every one of us is important! Every one of us is important. And I'll do whatever I have to save us all.